What's going on, everyone? I'm back with another video today for the first time in like 7 months. I do apologize for that. Making these videos is kind of like a pain sometimes, and I've just been lazy. But anyway, I definitely needed to make this one for today because today is going to be my recap of my most recent competition, which was the US Open, April 27th, 2019. For those of you who are watching in the future or maybe who don't keep up with powerlifting. But yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to sit here and say that I like how I did at this meet, and I had a pretty good time doing it. Prep went well and stuff like that, and I'll go over all of that. And I'm also going to answer some fan questions at the end of the video, so it might be kind of a long video. But if you guys don't want to listen to me talk through all that, I'll just put down below like what times during the video that I'm actually showing like my third attempts and stuff like that, if you guys are just interested in seeing the lifts. And without further ado, let's jump right into the squats. So the squats are going to be, I'm going to have to say this was my favorite part of the meet because this is kind of like a motivational comeback story, at least to me, I think. Because over the last, we'll just call it like a 2-year period or so, I tore this left quad tendon on 2 different occasions, you know, right off the patella, making it, obviously that makes squat training basically, you know, impossible. It makes it really hard to like get stuff done in the gym and this and that, and it wasn't bad enough to need surgery or anything. And for the longest time I wasn't really even sure if that was going on until like I got an MRI like way later on to kind of figure out that's like what happened, like legit for sure. But yeah, so pretty much I just kept trying to work around it for a long time, and it ruined like 2 years of training, so that really kind of sucks. So for me to be able to like go into this meet and hit a PR just meant like the world to me as a lifter and as somebody that was like trying to motivate other people. This was like something that was really important to me. So, you know, prep for the squats went really good. I was able to push the weights heavier and heavier each week and with less than normal pain. I mean, it still hurt, but I was able to work around it. I was able to do so in a way that didn't really set me back too far. So yeah, so going into the meet, I have my opener put down at 611 pounds for my opener. And I'll just go ahead and mention that I was the only competitor at this meet that competed in knee sleeves, and the reason for that was because of the quad tendon. I'm still kind of getting better and stuff, and on both of those occasions that I had tore this quad tendon, I was using knee wraps, and they just put a weird stretch on that top of the knee right on that quad tendon and on the patella in a way that just didn't feel good for me, and that's kind of what I feel was like the main cause for the injury both of those times. And I'm just kind of getting back in the swing of squatting and stuff like that, so I wasn't going to do anything to really ruin that. You know, I kind of want to just keep this momentum going as well as I can. But yeah, anyway, you know, open up with 611, moved really good. Kind of, I say really good. It moved good that's a good amount of weight for me to move on an opener. But I noticed like in warm-ups and stuff, you know, my knees and stuff were already hurting and stuff like that, even though they hadn't really been hurting much in training. So I kind of had like a groin, and the quad tendons of both my knees were just flared up and hurting pretty bad. But I was like, whatever, you know, I'm at the meet, like I feel strong. I hurt a little bit, but I can get through it. I can go get it done. So yeah, you know, I was able to knock it out without too much of a problem. I'm just feeling a little unstable and this and that, which I don't really know what happened to that. So technique-wise, felt a little off on squats. I had practiced a lot in training, squatting like right to depth, but not going too far below, because I always had a problem with going too far below depth, and you know, you don't get more points for that or anything like that. It's really unnecessary. It just makes the lift harder. I was getting good about hitting right where I needed to in training. Whatever happened at the meet, I was just sinking it a lot lower than I should have. I don't know if it's just from the meet hype or, you know, maybe all the rest from the week before. My hips felt a lot looser, so I was able to hit depth easier. Whatever the reason being, that's what happened. But anyway, and then I move up to 644 for my second attempt. And prior to this 644, my best squat I've ever done in a meet and in my life, other than hitting 644 in training a couple weeks before the meet, was 639 pounds or 290 kilograms. And so going for a meet PR in my second attempt, big deal for me. So I got to the, which I believe was 292.5 kilos. So a 2.5 kilo PR my second attempt. Moved great, definitely better than my first. A little hard, but not really. I was able to, you know, stand up with it just fine. Racket felt good, 3 white lights, plenty of depth. But then that one kind of hurt me a little bit, and I almost considered not even doing my third attempt at all because my knees were so flared up at this point. But I was like, hey, you know, like, I'm at the meet, like, I'm a competitor, I just want to show up and I just want to do the best I can. So, and the big goal I had going into this meet was 300 kilos on the squat, which is 661 pounds. Big milestone for me as a lifter. That was the number that I had in my head planned all the way through my prep. Way back when I even started planning this in the beginning, it was 300 kilograms. So I was like, man, I have to make this squat happen. So walked in to do my third attempt, went down, sunk it. It ended up being the hardest lift of my life, but I was so determined to do it. And I was able to stand up with it somehow. And I mean, I'm sure you guys, by judging by the video, you can tell how hard of a squat that was for me. But I was able to stand up with it, and I racked it, 3 white lights, and boom, 3 for 3 on squats. It was just a great start to the day. Like, it just, you know, going 3 for 3 on squats, it really just sets you up for having, like, mentally sets you up for having a good rest of the meet. Alright, so now on to bench press. So, you know, bench has never really been too hard for me to train. I mean, the only thing that really happens every now and then is, like, I'll get a strain in, like, one of my pecs, and that just kind of happens, but not really anything too catastrophic, fortunately. You know, shoulders always feel good, elbows usually feel good, stuff like that. But however, the last, like, I want to say it was maybe like the last 6 or 7 weeks of training, I had gotten like a pec strain, so I really wasn't able to push the numbers in training that I wanted to. But I eventually got to where I still kind of was, but like where my prep finished was maybe like 10 pounds less than what I had wanted to do in prep. But regardless, you know, I'm still happy with it. It still felt pretty good. So I went to do my opener. So my opener was 202.5 kilograms, which is 446 pounds. And that moved really easy. I mean, bench was just feeling strong this day, especially considering like the best bench I did in training was like 460, and it was kind of hard. I mean, even though I was babying this pec, it's just hard to peak whenever you're babying an injury, because, you know, during the peak is when you actually kind of have to really start pushing the weight and kind of start getting more serious and stuff. So I wasn't able to do that like 100%. You know, I was able to do it maybe like 90, 95%. Which was fine. You know, I was like, you just trying to make this the best meet that I could. My 446 opener moved great, really fast. And then, you know, talked with my coach Jesse, and we decided to go to 215 kilos for my second. And this is, you know, already a meet PR, because my best is, I think 210. 210 was my best going into this meet, which is 463 pounds. So I go to 474 pounds on my second. And it came down good, and then once I started to press up, I think the way I'd set myself up on the bench, my left side of my back just like, it cramped really bad, like once I started to drive with my legs and stuff and pushing the bar off my chest. And my back cramped up, wasn't able to finish the lift, so I was like, well crap, like I kind of freaking out at this point, because like I can't go 1 for 3 on a lift, like especially bench press. Bench press is easy. But yeah, so I was able to get my girlfriend to like rub the knots out of my back and stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, because I mean, you'll see by the video that it was a grinder, and I didn't finish the lift, and it felt like it took a lot out of me, but I felt like I should have gotten it. But, you know, somehow I was able to come back on my third and hit it, and it moved great. That's actually the second heaviest bench press I've ever done in my life. The first being, I did 480 a while back in training with a much shorter pause. It was almost like a touch and go with just like a real small pause. So the pause on the 474 was a lot longer than the 480 I did in training a while back. So I can say this was probably like the best bench I've ever done in my life. And to do it on the platform, you know, that just means even more to me. So definitely very happy with how bench press went. Was able to walk away with a 5 kilogram or 11 pound meet PR. So definitely very happy with that. Great day on the bench. And now the part you guys have probably all been waiting for, and probably the only thing anybody even cares about, and that's the only reason why anybody follows me half the time, is the deadlift. So it's so deadlift training wasn't the best, like going into this meet. I don't know what it was, like technique was just feeling sloppy, but kind of like the more I'd stuck with sumo and the more the peak had gone on, the better I'd practiced my technique and stuff. It kind of just started to all kind of fall into place, just as the rest of my training did on the squat and the bench. Deadlift fell in place exactly like how I had planned it to and how I'd wanted it to. Don't know how I was able to make that happen, especially on all 3 lifts, like training and all of the numbers I wanted to hit in training. I don't know. I'm just really happy I was able to make it all fall together and fall into place. It worked out great. So the best pull I hit in training was 931 pounds. And it moved really good. So, you know, flash forward to the meet, I'm opening up with 887, which is the most I've ever opened with. So that's 402.5 kilograms. And I mean, for whatever reason this day, you know, even though my knees were completely shot from squatting, they hurt really bad. I don't use my quads that much when I deadlift, but the squatting had helped my hips kind of like loosen up and whatnot. So it made warming up for deadlifts really easy, and it made my positioning feel a lot better. So deadlifts just felt really strong regardless of, you know, my right knee hurting. Pretty bad, you know. I was having a hard time bending it. I was constantly just rolling it out. But I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, deadlift still just felt like amazing this day. So the 887 opener moved as fast as it ever had. I was really stoked about that, but you know, I don't really get too excited about my opener or second. You know, I'm kind of just focused on getting all three of my lifts. So I go to 931 for my second, which was the best weight that I hit in training. Moved better than it did in training. As you can see by the video, I was even like a little more careful with it too, just so I didn't lose my balance at the top. The platform was kind of wobbly. But my hips and legs were feeling strong off of the ground. So when I don't have to put as much effort into getting the lift off of the ground, I can like control it a little bit better at the top. So that's exactly what I did. I was a little more careful with it. I didn't move it as fast as I possibly could. I just moved it all the way up to the top with good control, and you know, moved great. And then so originally, and then we're going on to my third attempt. I didn't really know what to put down. And, you know, not to mention, because the biggest thing I'm going for here is, like, the best possible total I can get. And that's, you know, breaking a world record wasn't necessarily, like, my big plan going into the meet. I wasn't really sure if that was going to be there or not because of how training had been. But, yeah, so even opening with 887, that actually put me at a meet PR total already. That put me at 2,022 pounds, I believe. And then when I did the 931, that put me at 2066. So I just wanted to add a little bit more to that. Well, an appropriate jump from there, with depending on how the 931 felt, was, you know, 950. So my previous world record in the 220-pound weight class is 430 kilograms, or 948 pounds. So what I did was I just added a kilogram to the 430 and did 431 because it came out to like a nice even 950. I knew for sure that 950 was there. I knew it'd be hard. I knew it'd take all my energy out of me, but like I knew it was definitely there. So yeah, I talked with my coach Jesse, and we loaded it on the bar for the third attempt. And you know, I felt really sure about the lift, and I was feeling really strong this day. Went out and got it, and that was the most weight I have ever, you know, pulled in my entire life. And that finished me up with a 2,085 pound or 946 kilogram total on the day, which is about 40 kilograms, almost 40 kilograms better than I did at my last meet in Russia, which was back in October 2018. So I totaled 2,000 exactly at that meet, and I totaled 2085 at this meet. So to walk away from this meet after all the, you know, the last year, 2 years of crappy, horrible training and like hitting plateaus and stuff like that, to be able to add 85 pounds to my total at this meet, just it really meant the world to me, and I couldn't have been more happy with how the day turned out. Alright, so now before I get into these fan questions, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the meet itself. So this is my first time doing the KERN US Open. I wasn't good enough to get invited the first year. The second year I was hurt because all this crap with my knee and whatnot. And then this year I was able to make it and I didn't get hurt. So I was really stoked to just be there at all, because this is like what a lot of us recognize as like the most competitive meet in the world, which I can agree with, because I mean there's some really strong people there. So yeah, the meet ran amazing. Like, I mean, even in like the warm-up areas, we all had 3 platforms. We had nice bars to use and stuff like that. They had people back there loading the weights for us, which I've never had at a meet before. So they would ask you what you want for your next warm-up set, and they would load it on there for you, which was the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen, because like, I mean, it's just nice, you know, you load your own weights in your training like forever and ever, and then, you know, you go to the meet and someone's doing it for you. It was just really nice. So that was probably my favorite part of the meet, as far as like the setup and whatnot. As far as how the meet moved and how the lifters went through their flights and stuff, I thought it was really smooth. I thought it went fast. I thought we had plenty of time between events, you know, so like after squats, we had a good maybe hour and a half like between bench, and another hour and a half between, you know, bench and deadlift. So that was really nice. I had plenty of time to like chill, sleep a little bit, eat, and like rehydrate myself. So yeah, you know, I mean, really, really good meet all around. I think Gracie and Kern and everybody else involved, they did a really good job. The live stream was ran really, really well. Overall, just a really cool meet. All right, so the question, so I did this thing on like my Instagram, and I got like just a billion questions about like the platform. Like every other question was about the platform. So yeah, I mean, we were lifting on a stage, and what had happened during deadlifts was after dropping the bar over and over on this stage with the way the surface was, you know, it's off the ground, so it's not like ground level or anything like that. It's propped up with like, I don't know, a bunch of metal poles underneath hoisting up like a wood surface. So I mean, we broke it from dropping weights over and over on it. So the ground itself, like the stage itself, got damaged and dented in, which made the platform uneven. So that's where you're seeing like the wobbling from the platform and the warping of the wood and stuff like that. So, and it wasn't like, a lot of people ask me if that felt like it affected my deadlift at all, and it's hard for me to say if it did or not, because, you know, I've never pulled 950 before. That was the most I've ever pulled in my life. It felt better than it did in training, so it's really hard for me to sit here and say that had anything to do with, you know, if I could have done more weight or not. Because honestly, I don't think it mattered that much. Some people will say that it did. I don't think that it mattered that much. Yeah, so he said, what's going through your mind when you pulled the world record and the setup, and during the setup beforehand? Well, it's really hard for me to think about it, but I guess if I just think back to the meet, like, you know, going up to the bar, I mean, you know, it's just like another lift. It's just something you've done it so many times in training before already, and it doesn't really have to be, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Doing it at a competition just seems like to be nothing but an advantage for me, because I'm so much more fired up to do the lift. I know this is like where it matters, and in my training I don't completely max out, and it makes you. And if you do your training that way, then when you get to the meet, and you actually get to max out, you're really excited, you know, because it's fun to see what you can actually do. So I was really sure about this lift, the 431 kilos. I was pretty certain that it was going to happen. I just kept myself calm in here. I mean, I let the excitement build up like in here and get my energy going and stuff, but I kept my mind calm and at least good enough to where I could like execute the lift well. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had going through my mind during the lift. All right, so next one. Do you think you could have done more at a deadlift only meet? Meaning not squatting, because, you know, my third attempt on my squats was like a grinder, so they're asking if that like took much energy out of me. And again, honestly, like I can't really say that it did, just because I always feel pretty good after I feel pretty good deadlifting after squatting at meets. Like I always have. Like I feel like the squats just gets my lower body really loosened up for like the rest of the day, and that makes like deadlifting pretty easy. Just get my hips down in position, because I feel like I need more mobility to squat the way that I do compared to like deadlifting, because my hips are a lot lower whenever I squat than they are when they deadlift. So, you know, going through that squat range of motion over and over again and warm-ups and on the attempts and stuff, it just loosens up my hips quite a bit. So honestly, it's hard to say, but I think maybe I could have done a little bit more if I had only deadlifted, but not really. And I would so much rather just do a full power meet, like and put up a big total, because I mean, it's great to have world records, and I love breaking world record deadlifts and stuff like that, but I love for it even more to be part of a big personal best total for myself. And this one's kind of similar to the question about what was going through my mind during like a world record attempt. But it says, how do you deal with meet stress and anxiety, especially for world record attempts? Well, you know, when I do my training, I make sure I do every set and every lift the exact same way, whether it be squat, bench press, or deadlift. I line up and do them all the exact same way every single time. That way, when I go to the meet, it's nothing new. You know, it's something that I've done a million times in training already. It's just doing it on a platform in front of people instead of doing it in the gym by yourself. And I think just having experience doing several meets, that helps the anxiety kind of just go away. And yeah, I was nervous at the beginning of the meet, but really, like, every meet's kind of gone this way for me. After I do like my first squat attempt, the rest of the day is just fun, especially after the third squat attempt, especially after I'm done with squats. Like, it's usually just a good day from there. So yeah, I don't know, and I just try to have fun with it, because, you know, powerlifting for me is, it's fun. It's something I've always enjoyed doing. Like, this is what I do for fun. This is like my favorite thing to do. So, I like to hang out with other people at the meet. So I like to goof around, joke around with everybody else, just try to have a good time, and that helps relieve a lot of the anxiety as well. Why don't you compete in reps? I'm just answering this again for anybody who maybe missed earlier when I was explaining this, but yeah, just the too much stretch on that quad tendon, and I feel like if I jump into the reps anytime soon, I'm just risking that being bad again, and I'm not really too eager to do that. So, is 1,000 pounds in full power there at some point? Meaning doing it in a full competition, full squat, bench, deadlift, full competition, 9 lifts. Yes. When? I don't know. It could be a long time from now, or it could be like a year. I don't know. Or it could be several years. I have no idea. Do I think it's going to happen? I think it's possible. I just have to just be smart with my training, and I think just staying healthy is the name of the game at this point. I think that's what's going to get me there. Just staying healthy and just being consistent over like a long period of time. But I mean, I guess that could be said for like a lot of things. Were you expecting to PR on all 3 lifts? Yes. Any bad things about the US Open? I mean, just as like a personal complaint, I wish that this meet, at least every other year, you know, because the last 2 years they did it in wraps. I wish maybe one of these years they could just do it in sleeves, just because. I mean, I don't see why not. Just because I personally don't like wraps, and I know a lot of other lifters don't too. So I think maybe if we opened it up to sleeves, maybe we could get some more names in there. I mean, who knows? And personally, like, I think that I would compete a little bit better overall, because, you know, if you're comparing overall Wilks and you're doing sleeves and everyone else is doing wraps, I mean, yeah, you're going to be at a big disadvantage. But I knew that going into this meet, and that wasn't really like my priority. I was okay with that because I was just wanting to get like a big PR on my total. So, did anything go wrong in your prep? Yeah, like I said earlier, and when I was talking about bench press, it was just that right pec that had gotten a strain in it, so I had to baby it for a couple of weeks. And I honestly feel like that was why I was 10 pounds behind on my bench press than I originally wanted to be. My whole goal for this meet this whole time was to get a 485 bench. And I ended up, which was, I believe that's 220 kilos. That would have been a PR for me, even though 474 is still PR. I wanted that 485, and I got 474. So I feel like with that little bit of a strain, I think it's reasonable enough to say that I lost 10 pounds because of that. But whatever, that's how this goes. Do you love Yuri Belkin? Yeah, I mean, that's my dude. He's in my opinion, he's the best lifter in the world. What's not to love? Pre-lift music for the meet. This time it was Slipknot, but I didn't really listen to a whole lot of music at all, like the whole time. I think like I had my headphones on for like a song or two, and then I just got tired of keeping up with it, and I just like gave them to my buddy Omar, and I was like, hey, hold these for me, I'm done with them. Opinions on the weight loaders and spotters. Well, they're amazing. The KERN brings the same group of people out there every year to do their spotting and loading, I believe, and they always do a great job. They caught an 887 squat, so that's pretty impressive. This one's a little different, but I'll go ahead and answer it anyway. It's kind of similar to some of the other ones about meet stress, but it's more so like, how do you deal with the meet day stress / anxiousness and ignoring people's expectations of you? I really like that question because, you know, I do walk into these meets now and everybody is just expecting me to break another world record deadlift or deadlift something like huge, and I do feel like I have to live up to that. But at the same time, like, I'm never going to try to do anything that's outside of my own capabilities. I always kind of know where I'm at, like, going into a meet. Like, I know what I should be able to do that day, and that's all I worry about. I don't really worry about anybody else's expectations of me. And it doesn't give me much anxiousness that people have these expectations of me to break, like a world record, deadlift something huge. If anything, it fires me up more because, you know, the people who do expect those things for me, they say that they're like supporters of mine, they call themselves like fans of mine or whatever, and I think that's really cool, and I don't want to let those people down. I want to do something like big for those people, you know, those people who support me and want to see me do something big, so it's good motivation for me. And also I just want to do good for myself too. Was 950 pounds your true max, or do you wish you could have squeezed out a little bit more, or do I think I could have squeezed out a little bit more? Yeah, I think if I had to, I think like I think it's fair to say 10 pounds, maybe 10 more pounds could have been there. So like 959, which would have been 435 kilos. Maybe that could have been there, but you know, I went with what I was like certain of. But I think if I had to do a little bit more, I think I could have. All right, last one here, and because I think this is the most important one. What did I eat during the meet? Now, you know, during a meet, you have to kind of think how long you're going to be there. Normally, you can assume maybe the meet's going to take anywhere from like 6 to 9 hours. So now during that point in time, you're going to be exerting yourself quite a bit. So I like to keep caffeine pretty low at the beginning of the day and just ramp it up towards the end. So on squats, like I'll maybe take like a quarter of a scoop of pre-workout because I'm already like fired up. I'm already like detoxed from caffeine because I won't take caffeine for like 2 weeks before the meet, stuff like that. So keep the caffeine pretty low. That way I can keep my hydration up. And for hydration, I drink a shit ton of V8 throughout the meet. And so V8 just has like a ton of sodium and potassium. I feel like my body absorbs it really well and utilizes it pretty good. And I just feel really good when I take it. I do that with my training and stuff too. Like I'm always drinking V8. And other than that, you know, I'm just eating simple carbs throughout the day, whether it be like, you know, candy, noodles, rice, like white rice, and I just eat a lot of that kind of stuff like throughout the day. Cliff Bars, Skittles, Starburst, stuff like that. Just like snacks here and there throughout the whole day. Protein, I'll have a little bit of protein, even though they're not, so carbs are your biggest priority. You don't really have to prioritize much fats and protein during the meet, I would say, but I'll have a little bit of those too. So I'll have stuff like beef jerky, tuna, and then I don't really have anything fatty at all until after the meet, because honestly, I feel like I don't really need it. I feel like I can kind of just bank off of electrolytes, water, V8, and carbs like all day, and just throw in a little bit of tuna and beef jerky throughout the meet, and that usually holds me over and gets me through the meet just fine. So, well, I guess that's going to be the end of this, but I hope you guys enjoyed my recap of the meet. I'd like to start making some more videos soon, so you guys can always leave your suggestions for me down below as far as what you guys want me to make. That always helps. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching this, and y'all have a great day.